So oftentimes we talk about the profiles of different people and family and health. And so our next guest is a subject matter expert in those areas. She's posting incredible content and giving her perspective on where we are and where we should be. We are delighted to welcome Taylor Chandler to the show. Taylor, how are you and welcome?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. Getting ready for the winter storm like everybody else right now. I'm doing really, really well, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is ours. So, for those audience folks that may have been living under a rock and are not aware of exactly who you are and what you do, why don't you take a
Mhm.
moment out and kind of bring folks up to speed?
Yeah, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a personal development coach. I work with individuals and I work with couples. I work with men and I work with women.
Oh, all right, straight to the point. Love that. You know, and not only do I love that, but in response to, I've seen some of the responses to, I would describe them as patients, former patients, folks that you've worked with, the
Mhm.
testimonials are really awesome and talked about the work that you've done. Kind of what is that, for those of us who are on the other side of that, what is kind of the pathology to take a person from, hey, I need therapy, or what does that look like? And then also, what does a thumbs up look like after you've gone through that? How do you know it's worked? And I'm trying to be careful with the terminology I use, but it worked and things are better.
Yeah, great questions. Honestly, every individual is different. And so people are starting in different places of different level awarenesses, different like self-awareness, different level of awareness around like exactly what issues they need to be working on. Some people come in, especially now that I have so much content out, plenty of people can come in with already some language, whether it's because they've been listening a lot or watching a lot, or they've been in therapy before. I could
Right,
go on and on about the different kind of like different locations that people are at when they first start. But the arc, like in order to get through that, wherever,
mhm,
whatever, whoever it is, and wherever they're starting from, the first part is just an open and willingness. I say like to be wrong because
mhm.
a lot of people have heard the kind of like I don't know if to call it a cliche, but the saying that the same thinking that got you into the problem is not going to be the same thinking that gets you out of the problem. And
Interesting.
so the beginning of that arc of change starts with someone being open to thinking differently. On the way to change, people have different resistances and blocks, histories, and all kinds of things that can get in the way that we're kind of like dismantling along the way. But a thumbs up at the end is for my particular lane, it's someone being securely attached, which is having like healthy, um, trusting intimate relationships with others, but also, and first and foremost, it's the healthy relationship with self. So in my particular lane, that's we secure attachment is like a term that when someone is finished, we can confidently say they've resolved some of their attachment issues. So relational and personal. But also another a
Right.
huge indicator that someone is in a really good place and we're ready to separate, which is good. People should not be in therapy or coaching forever. Like you should move on.
Okay.
Okay, you should
Okay.
move
It's
on. And
news to
my
me.
goal is always to move. I want people to live their life without me, and that's my next point is that where someone is able to be autonomous. Like what I often say is whatever I'm doing with you one on one or what I'm doing with the couple, you should be able to do without me. So whatever
Right. Right.
my goal is not just that you feel better, but that you're doing better and especially that you're doing better without like my prompting or directing. So that is where I want all of my clients to be at the end, where it feels like they love to talk to me afterwards, but not because they're dealing with the same problem, just because
Right.
they want to talk and
You
check
know,
in.
it's interesting. As I'm old enough to remember when if you went to see a therapist, it was something that was frowned upon. We
Hmm.
whispered about it in our community. It was, you were probably identified as weak or not strong enough or what
Hmm.
have you.
Hmm.
Different times, certainly now. I think that I don't know if there's one specific flashpoint, but it certainly felt like during the pandemic that
Yeah.
folks became far more comfortable, for lack of a better word, and conscious to be able to say, "Hey, this is how I feel, and I need some help. I need some support." Um,
Mhm.
but then it also very atypical of just how society is. It feels like there's a lot of self-diagnosis going on to where now everyone, right? And obviously not everyone, but it's like
Mhm.
everyone feels like there's this sense of I need therapy. It,
Mhm.
but that may be the truth though, right? Do we all need therapy?
I think everyone could benefit from the support of a competent therapist.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that that's different than everyone needing therapy. And there are so many different types of help that people need. I mean, the mental health covers a wide range of symptoms. So I think that because it covers such a wide range, essentially like any problem that a person might experience, that doesn't mean that every therapist should be like trying to help someone resolve or manage every
Sure.
problem that someone should experience. But therapy, mental health as a whole covers this big range, which is why I can say confidently that I think everyone could benefit from the support of a competent therapist. But when you think about someone needing therapy, they've hit a level of distress in their life, personal,
Mm,
relationally, where it is impacting, it's impeding like their daily functioning, whatever that might mean. So,
right.
and that's where I would say the need comes in when the distress is now impeding what would be normal functioning.
Got it. And is medication typically something that goes hand in hand with that, or do you see a pathway to looking for whatever you need is it already exists inside of you?
So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and we don't prescribe medication.
Right.
So none of my clients get prescriptions from me. I tend to think that, or I should say, like my stance, my philosophy is that many problems can be dealt with like your human will and resource. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
But not every problem. Like there
Right.
really is research, for example, bipolar disorder. Like the research
Sure.
shows us that it's better treatment. It's indicated that if someone has this type of mental health disorder, that medication and talk therapy hand in hand or concurrently is going to be the best option. So, and bipolar disorder isn't the only one, but there are some issues that people are dealing with where research says medication and talk therapy is best. But in my lane, when we're talking about personal relational development, that's unless someone has a concurrent mental health issue, then I don't need to. We're not dealing with issues that require medication. We're dealing with more
Right.
like interpersonal and intrapersonal issues that have a lot to do with changing mind, changing behaviors, where someone's not requiring medication in order to do that.
Got it. Love that. Thank you for that. I'm going to do a quick little pivot. Um, uh, some of the content you provided, as I said, absolutely riveting. And I would say, for lack of a better term, as a topic, um, you talk about Black women, and I would dare say, and you keep me honest, that there is a branding issue right now with Black women. Just the internet is filled with negative commentary.
Yeah.
Um, has it always been this way and we just see more of it? Or has there absolutely been a cultural change with respect to Black women and behavior and appearance standards and such?
I think it's definitely changed. It's not really the thing where like something's always been there, but I think we've definitely seen a spike, not just because of some like media conspiracy, but because there's actually more of it to see, like actually
Hmm.
more
Right.
behavior. I call it antisocial behavior. Okay, antisocial, destructive to society, things that are against the like progress of society. We see a rise in that. We also see like a parallel in media, like in showing that both like fictionally and in reality television. But I think we're seeing a rise in that, and a rise in the content that we see on social media, also because we're seeing a rise in it in real life. And not only
Hmm.
are
I
people
see.
consuming the media, like on television or through phones and things, but they're also participating in things like in real life. Like this, it's not what is that term? Like art represents life or something like that.
Yeah, life imitating art or
Life imitating art, art
yeah,
imitating life. Like
yeah,
it's all
right,
happening together. So I think we're seeing a rise in that. I think we're definitely though seeing a huge rise in the commentary of it as well. Definitely during COVID, it spiked. Kevin Samuels, I think I don't know if we can even have this conversation without mentioning him. Like that really blew the door open. He was not the first one to talk about it.
right,
He was the first one to gain this kind of traction, visibility,
sure,
and following. But even he even refers to people that he had learned from and got this from. There were a lot of there were people before him,
sure,
of course, right? I don't know if there's any original ideas. I think we're all kind of like, nothing new under the sun is sort of my like philosophy. We're just kind of
right,
finding new ways to repackage it and we orient to it differently in different times. But he was definitely like the one that got that they got the huge following. And then we have all of these spin-offs,
yep,
right? We have all these
right.
spin-offs of what he was doing. So yeah, it's interesting.
Is it exclusive to Black women? No? Have you seen other groups? Because it doesn't
Yeah.
certainly doesn't seem or feel like uh, it's this change of time or whatever it is has impacted other groups of people as much as it has Black women.
I think that it's definitely coming up with Black women the most, and white people are talking about it too.
Mm,
So the white men are talking about what the white women are going on, what the white women have going on, and the
right,
words rebellion are definitely in the conversation. And the issue when it comes to like values and priorities, that's definitely in the conversation. So white people are definitely having the conversation. I mean, JD Vance is on a mission to get white people in particular, to have more babies and get married. So
mm,
there's a conversation for sure happening, and even happening nationally. I think, of course, like our what we're seeing in on our own devices, of course, like our algorithms are showing us more people that look like us more than other people that are having the
sure,
conversation. And I also think that it's more of a black issue than
I
other
see.
races are having. So I think it's both.
So if the question were posed to you, uh, here's show me an example. Give me, or meaning Black women, an example of a model example of how they should be. We can say that they've moved away from where they once were and where they should be. But if you had to hold up an example and say, ideally speaking, this is what we should emulate, who's that Black woman? Or does she exist?
That is such a good question. Honestly, I don't have an answer at the tip of my tongue. I think part of the reason why is because I really can't I really can't think of someone, honestly. And I think part of me has some resistance to that because I
Hmm,
don't think that a person or a couple should be the like model citizen necessarily. But I think
okay,
it's about character. Like I think everybody should be doing the best that they can with what they've got. And I think a lot of people aren't doing that. Okay. So some if I say, let's say, I really like Kerry Washington, and I think,
hmm,
and she's married, and
okay,
their relationship, you know what, Sterling Brown. I like a Sterling Brown.
okay,
I wish I could. His wife's name is I think it's Ryan. Can't remember her last name. Brown,
okay.
maybe, might be Brown. Um,
Yeah, I
so
don't know.
I don't know, but if I could pull some, right, I could pull some people, but I have hesitations around putting someone up as like the model, because my philosophy is that people should really be focused on themselves and improving in themselves personally as much as possible, and get to that like peak point, or as like the striving towards like maximizing all that they can be. And I
Sure.
think that when we put someone on that pedestal, we usually don't make space for all of the things that they're doing wrong, realizing not, and we kind of start to, let me say here, I'd say this. We forget that in our striving to be better, that there's also things that aren't going to be up to par, or we're still going to have mistakes. And
I
so
see.
I kind of I do hesitate to put someone up there. But I do think that we can kind of pull different figures and emphasize or magnify some particularly good qualities that they might be exemplifying,
Okay, so
without taking like the whole person.
got it. So with that perfect lead in, so let's remove the image or the person.
Mm,
And as you mentioned, then what are those qualities? What are those attributes to being a good wife, a good
mhm,
husband, a good partner?
mhm,
Do we, generations before us where, we'd heard terms like our folks, our parents heard you're a credit to your race, right? That
mhm.
we carried the mantle and the flag for all Black folks. Does that still exist? But if you were going down the checklist, if you were making that person in a laboratory, what boxes would you check?
I would definitely check service oriented. That's huge. And
Really?
we're missing a lot of that right now. But service oriented, right? I'm talking about both to like community at large, world at large, but then like in your micro environment, in your relationship. So service oriented person in short is thinking about how can I be of support and give to you, not what am I trying to get out of you. So that's really big. Anything that I name would be like what I would call like high value character traits. So someone who is generous. That doesn't mean without boundaries, right? Because this is also
Mhm.
someone who is self-aware, who knows themselves and what they can do, but it also knows their limitations and what they can't do. So someone who's self-aware, someone who is disciplined and consistent, which are they go hand in hand, a little bit different. I won't get into the nuance, but disciplined and consistent. So there's a level of predictability about this person. They're grounded and routine. Those are a couple of qualities that come to mind first.
Right. And in this kind of dating world or relationship world, as you talk through this, I'm asking myself, are we as people focusing on the attributes that you mentioned, or are we just looking at something totally different? Probably appearance, uh,
Yeah.
and someone's financial stability.
Mhm.
Um, are we looking through meaning as a society, are we looking through the wrong lens when it comes to identifying a potential partner?
I think in general,
Yeah.
yes. Like the kind
Okay.
of conversations about values and character are like these niche conversations, these like in the
Mhm.
minority of the minority conversations. A lot of people they find those kind of conversations like boring and bland. I like it. But that's a particular type of person that seeks that kind of information out. And so it's like someone has to seek it because it's not being put out in front of them. It's
I
sort of
see.
like sugar. Like when you're in the store, right? The bright things that stand out to you are like the Skittles and the
Right.
M&Ms and the chips and the cookies, right? Like the bland stuff is the bananas and the broccoli, and it doesn't even strike your eye the same way. And I think really similarly to like what we're being fed in the media, and so that becomes people's lens.
I see.
And so it's not when people aren't in general as a society, as a culture, not looking through the lens of uh, character development. How is this person's character? I think it's difficult for people to even know how to begin assessing for that. Uh, so no, yeah, I think we're definitely looking in general, looking at the wrong things, measuring people by the wrong standards.
Sure. Black folks are certainly not a monolithic people.
Hmm.
But do you see a common thread that flows through all of us, or many of us, um, that either supports or kind of or hurts our causes? And so that thread and that separation, those demarcation lines would be uh, a Black American versus an African African versus someone with from the Caribbean. We're to the eye, right? Our hue is all the same color, but culturally we're different.
Yes.
Is there that common thread that flows through all of us, which is either helping or hindering us?
If there is a common thread, it's becoming harder to locate. It's
Mm,
becoming
okay.
harder to locate because the cultural differences are so distinct,
Can
are so
you
distinct.
unpack that a little bit, please?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Black American culture compared to like Caribbean or African culture, very different. Well, I guess like one term that we could use to describe this difference, it won't describe all of it, but it will describe some of it, is this individualistic culture compared to like a collectivist culture.
Okay.
So where the Black American culture is more individual, far more individualistic, more out for self. That's why we hear so much. I mean, this started years ago, like, how is this serving me? And it just never went away. It's just
Right.
amplifying. How is
Okay.
this serving me rather than how is this serving us? Um, an emphasis on personal expression rather than like community pride or this idea that you mentioned it earlier, like you're a credit to the race. Like that idea is like Black American culture has turned to like as long as I'm good, whatever I want to do as an individual, it shouldn't matter to the whole. Because there's like this idea that you're not responsible for or to the collective.
Interesting.
Whereas like in other cultures, again, like African and Caribbean being the most like apparent ones to talk about or obvious ones to talk about, there's I think a much more responsibility on the individual to represent the whole, which gives a higher level of accountability, meaning that you're not just accountable to self, like, is this good with you, but you're accountable to the people around you. And they're actively and openly holding you to a standard that they would call good enough. And I
Got it.
think Black American culture has really rejected this good enough thing and takes offense to it in general,
Mhm.
like not wanting to be judged, even when, even when the outcomes in some cases are clearly like leading to certain negative outcomes.
Sure. Sure. And I know when my audience sees this, they're going to ask me why I didn't ask you. What is your lineage? Where are your folks from? Where are you from?
Foundational Black American. So, of course, we're all from Africa, but my family, as far as like all the people that I know, we're all from here in America. So
Got it.
brought here through. So no, not Caribbean. Brought here through. It would be apparently the slave trade.
Right.
So that's how we
And
got
that's
here.
what I was headed for. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Uh, so, so, and I think that's important to point out also too, because had you had a background other than being a Black American, someone may have thought or suggested that you had some sort of, I guess, it may have been a negative comment, but you're talking to your
That's
people, if you
fair.
will.
That's
So,
totally fair. So I'm glad that you asked that.
yeah, no, thanks for that. Well, uh, health and fitness.
Yes.
So I know you stand on that, a lot of content
Mhm.
related to that, which I certainly absolutely love. I try to keep my personal opinions out of interviews, but I have to chime in, and I absolutely love the idea when people are forward with their H&F journeys and how they share
Mhm.
that, and they talk about the importance of that. I do know when you've touched on Black women, again, just kind of going
Mhm.
back there. Uh, you've talked about their weight,
Mhm.
their body weight index. I think that's the body mass index, excuse me, body mass index. Um, and I think this can go across the line, across multiple different races and so on. But what is what is the impact of having a strong and consistent health, fitness focused lifestyle?
Oh my gosh, we could talk about this all day. So just so people know, I have a background. I was in the fitness industry for 10 years. So I was a personal trainer, a large group trainer, health coach, fitness nutrition specialist. I love fitness. It's
Love
still
it, love
a
it.
big part of my life. I grew up playing sports. I absolutely love fitness. As a lifestyle, it's a choice. I could talk about it all day.
Sure.
So it's really, really, really important, not just to me, but it's important to every individual. It's just a matter of how much does someone recognize the importance of it to them. It is important to everyone, but not everyone values and prioritizes it.
Right.
Uh, I make the argument that our weight, our physical health is first and foremost for ourselves, of course, and it's also for our relationships and it's for our families. Um, Black women have the highest rates of overweight and obesity among everyone. We're the only group that has a statistically significant difference from men in our same group and women in other groups. So that's big. Now
Right.
that is measured by the body mass index BMI, and it is widely known that BMI does not account for racial differences like bone density and muscle mass, which Black people tend to have higher levels of both of those.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and BMI is still the most widely used metric for measuring overweight and obesity, even while understanding that there are differences between races. So there's often an argument against BMI because of these factors, these racial factors. There are other ways to measure obesity and overweight rather than just using BMI. But even if we get away from that metric, so I understand why people use it and I understand why people don't use it. Even if we get away from it, Black people have like the worst health outcomes. And Black women in particular have the worst of the worst. So when I'm talking about that, I'm not just talking about weight. We're talking about levels of hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, certain types of cancer. Okay, like so and more, diabetes.
Right.
So there are a lot of issues, sleep apnea, right? The more that I talk, the more things are going to come up. So there are a lot of issues related to this that sometimes people will argue against BMI, but we can't argue against these outcomes that we're seeing in Black women. So I think we're really doing, I would say, not just a disservice when we don't talk about overweight and obesity. At this point, we're talking about, at this point, I think it's creating harm to not talk about it. And I think it's
Sure.
definitely creating harm to deny that this is an issue. When we look at the health outcomes, Black women in particular have the worst ones. Like you take BMI out of it, it's still highest levels of these kinds of problems. So it's a major, major issue in our community.
But why?
Yeah.
So it feels more of a newish phenomena. And
Mhm.
granted, this and when I say that, we're talking years and years. But
Mhm.
um, our grandmothers, our mothers, grandmothers, and so on didn't experience this. Moreover, their lives were certainly, in my opinion, certainly far more difficult to live than they are today.
Mhm.
This is the part where what I just don't understand. And I've heard a counter argument to socioeconomical reasons and so on. I don't know. I'll leave that up to other folks to determine that. But it really does make me wonder why our sisters? What happened? What happened there to where this grossly affects one group of the population and not another group? So what's the why behind that?
It is layered. I tend to think it's not, I'm kind of with, I think I'm more with you here, where like, we could bring in the socioeconomic factors, which are important and are real because access to healthy foods or like safe places to work out that's important. And that matters and that's a factor. One thing you said a minute ago, like our grandmothers, great grandmothers, things like that, their lives were more difficult and yet our health outcomes are worse. And that's part of it is that life got really easy, actually. Life got really, so we're not
Oh,
talking
okay.
about necessarily, we do have more single mothers, okay, where that is creating a burden on mothers where there's higher stress. There's this tendency to care for other people before caring for self. I want to acknowledge that because that's really real. Um, at the same time, we also have DoorDash, Uber Eats, and stuff. So is life harder for some, especially single mothers? And that is a whole conversation. We need to have a part two on that. Okay, so I don't because I want to go down the rabbit hole. So in some ways, right, life is harder
Right.
for some, but in a lot of ways, life is easier, and that's the problem. So like again, the food delivery stuff. We've of course all of this access to fast foods, the processed foods in grocery stores. So there's that. Uh, so it's interesting. I mean, this conversation is so nuanced, right? We can say that people don't have access to healthy foods, but we also have like more access than ever to healthy
Right.
food. So
Right.
it's such a layered conversation. I think that a conversation that a lot of people don't want to have is the normalization of it and the impact of the normalization of overweight and obesity as something that's just like a thing.
Right.
Like it's just like it's just a part
Right.
of someone.
I agree.
When as we can literally see, not too far away from us, it was not just a thing that was in the community, but it has become that. So it's not just this purely genetic thing. There's a lot of lifestyle choices that are playing a role in our super high overweight and obesity numbers. I mean, we're 8 out of 10 women, Black women, are overweight, and about 6 out of 10 obese.
So why does this, and that's an incredible stat.
Mm.
Um, I think I saw one of your clips where you mentioned that, but and it's mind blowing to me. And so the all of that in and of itself would be shocking enough, if not for the fact that what's even more shocking is the pushback folks get when they point this out. There
Mhm.
is this, what appears to be this, accept me how I am no matter what. And
Mhm.
so it's interesting when you post content putting this very important critical information out there. Um, Rarely do I see this kind of sister girl bonding kind of, hey, T, good looking out. Appreciate that, right? Like I'm going to start
Yeah.
looking at labels and reading this, and they come for you. They don't do that. It's like they're like, hey, when I see I'm gonna throw bottles at you, get away from me, right? Like, don't tell me what to do. I'm beautiful regardless. Like, what's that? And that's the part where I think it's also leading towards some of this. Yeah, I don't even know where to even go with it.
Yeah.
What's the genesis of that?
Oh, gosh. Love this conversation, and I will give credit to to women that are on my page that you are going to see some that are like, you know what, this is true, and we've been in denial. And I do like that about the people that follow the content. Like I think that when someone's sincerely looking at my content, you can see my heart. Like this
Right,
isn't a bash. I think if someone is being honest with themselves, right, they know that this is not to bring anybody down. I'm all about I want everybody to win.
right,
And I know that in order to do that, we can't be in denial. And so that's really a big answer to the question you just asked, the genesis of it. Where when someone has not had access to the truth, or I should say, I think we all have access to the truth, but sometimes we don't take it, or it's not kind of like like illuminated. It's not given. It's always there. I think the truth is always there, but sometimes it's not being told.
right.
And when I'm putting it like that, told, because the first school is in the house.
Mhm.
And a lot of this health education is not in the house.
Right. Okay.
I think that it's definitely correlated to the rise in single motherhood. I think there's definitely
Interesting.
a correlation there. So if this it's in the house, I say that to say when the reality of these sorts of things comes, when not only was the right information not given to you, but then you've got a lot of information given to you that is deceitful, that it doesn't matter, the weight doesn't matter, people should, men should accept you as however you are, the health issues really aren't that bad, and people are just coming for Black women. I mean, some people are just blatantly like denying the truth.
Right. Mhm.
So not only is the truth not taught from the beginning for so many, but then you have lies. I mean, like just straight up, just lies and deception for an extended period of time up into
Sure.
adulthood. Then when the reality finally hits, like you see a reel on Instagram that says, hey, this is a really giant issue. And not only is your health declining, but also marriage is declining and divorce is increasing. And we're pretty sure there's a lot of weight issues that are going on that are related to this stuff. Um, it's not all about weight, but like, there's definitely some correlations. I get a lot of men who reach out. I've had clients myself where their marital issues have come up because of weight. So all the stuff. When the realities of it finally hit, well, now we're up against cognitive dissonance where what you want to be true and what is true is now coming into contact, and then we have a lash out. Anger
Mhm.
is a really common reaction. It's not a response. It's not thoughtful. It's an emotional reaction to this push up against what I want to believe is true, which is delusion. That's kind of like by
Right.
definition, like what I want to believe is
Yep.
true and what is true. When it meets, anger is a reaction, and so that's when you see like the especially like negative comments. It gets really spicy. But
Mhm.
the reality is the reality.
Yeah, that's interesting. I listen, I get denial. There's denial wasn't invented yesterday. But what the part that was always difficult for me to get my arm around is the way people push back or attack, right? Like they respond with an attack, which is something that I always find interesting. So we talk about health and fitness, um, how we are as individuals, how what we do and not do in that kind of cultural space, we as a people, relationships. Um, uh, uh, if we are, as folks, rooted in our faith, if we are following a theology, accepting God and Jesus Christ into our life, I don't know what for the audience sake, I don't know what your belief systems are, but if that existed, more so in our lives, could this be a pathway away from some of the things that we've talked about that are hurting us as a people?
Yes. Simple answer. Absolutely. Yes. Now that doesn't mean we have a very big conversation about religion, but when we're really talking about following Jesus, okay, when we're really talking about whatever you want to say about religion, I totally get it. I understand religion pretty deep. I understand deconstruction. I get a lot of it. So we can take what your religion is out of it, but I will bring Jesus into it. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
And I
Got it.
think if you're truly, truly following Jesus and simultaneously you've brought Jesus into your heart, which means and and then I also believe that when you do that, you are empowered and equipped with the Holy Spirit. That's what I believe. Okay.
Right.
And if that is the case for a person, the now you can use we could use a religious word as a theological word, sanctification, the changing of a person like more into his image. Okay. Personally, and then also when we're talking about relationally, like I think just like the most powerful metaphor, um or I'll say one of, because it can be kind of tricky to say like the most powerful metaphor in the Bible, but so I'll say the most powerful metaphors in the Bible, in my opinion, is Christ in the church. And
Mm.
so that is our image for what our marriages should look like.
All right.
Okay. So if we're truly following that, and if we've really brought him into us, and we are truly following that path and becoming sanctified, turning into more like him every day, and
Right.
truly submitting our lives to him, our relationships to him, then we become more like him. And so a lot of these issues, a lot of these issues,
Okay.
including the overeating, yeah, including the overeating, including these emotional issues, depression, impatience, selfishness. Including all of these things, will be resolved. I really do believe that, and it's how I live my life as well, and it works for me.
Right.
And so I definitely think that, and it works for a lot of other people as well, right? That anyone and everyone who truly follows that path, I really do believe that. And so I do think that if we were to do that, a lot of these issues that we're talking about would become resolved.
Right. Could a relationship sustain if man and woman are not equally yoked that way? That one has received an anointing and the other hasn't? Listen, as our pastor said, if you're married, you're stuck. His words, not mine. But but in the reality of that question is it possible? And what do you do?
Yeah. It's a good question. So Second Corinthians 6 and 14 says, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. To what righteousness, for what
Yeah,
fellowship do righteousness and
right.
wickedness have in common? What do light and darkness have in common? What fellowship can righteousness have with wickedness, right? Do not be yoked together with unbelievers.
Right.
So it's unwise. Is it possible for it to survive? I think like anything is possible. I think it takes a whole lot of for someone to overcome themselves without the grace of God in a marriage and maintain it. I think is would be really, 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 really challenging. My family, so like let's just use my grandparents for example. They've been married for like 65 years, okay?
Oh,
And
wow.
I think being rooted in faith is a big reason why they've had a marriage like this, not just stuck together, but truly like unified together, like on
Mhm.
purpose.
Right.
And that my examples that I have followed both within my family and also like in church as I've gotten older and everything, like my examples have been faith-based relationships.
Okay.
And so for me, that is my root, and I believe in that, and I believe in it as the model for marriage, and that's what I follow. I think that if someone is without that, so whether it's a couple where they are not faith-based, not spiritually rooted in that, um, or a couple where there's one who is and one who is not, it's unwise. But I think that if you're going to, and so I think if you're going to go through that, it would
Hmm.
be really challenging to overcome yourself in that way and to
Sure.
not have an accountability outside of yourself to answer to. I think that would be really hard. And I, so, and it would be hard for me to take someone, like if I'm working with them, to take them past a certain point of
Mhm.
unification without that. So it's like I could get you up to a point, and then I'm like, and then God, and if that's not your frame, then all I have is tools for you. I got communication tools for you. I've got
Right.
language for you. I've got psychology for you, and we got God. And so if that's not your frame, there's like a limit to even how much I could, like how deeply I could take you.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, am I hearing divorce is on the table?
I think that, well, biblically, if we're going by Bible, divorce is on the table when someone like if someone becomes an unbeliever or like an
Right.
adultery.
Okay.
Like if we're going biblical.
Right.
I also think that I don't take the seat of judge. And so what God ultimately moves someone to do, or what God is okay with, I don't try to like determine that. Like I do
Mm,
the best that I can
right.
with what I know, and I try to make
Right.
wise decisions, especially for myself. And I want to counsel people in as wise of a way as I can. And what someone is moved to do, convicted to do, or even wants to do. I don't sit in the seat of judge, and so I
Right.
try to I keep some separation from that. It's a conversation though.
Love it. Love that. So I've got one last question. I always typically just have a question that's isn't necessarily linear to everything that we've been talking about, but I want to get your feeling on it. What are your thoughts on reparations for Black folks? Does a financial infusion into the coffers of Black folks, does that change our outcome in life? And then also,
Uh-huh.
who gets a check? So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, what do you
I
think?
don't know what's asked me that question before. That is a good question. It's making me laugh. I'm gonna give you my honest answer. I'm gonna give you my honest answer. I want every black person to get reparations so we could stop talking about it.
That's the reason?
And then we
So we
could
can
just
stop
see
talking
what
about it?
happens. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to hear anybody talking about because there's a validity to the argument, and that's what makes it intriguing and keeps it going because it's not some wild idea. Like it's really not. I mean, reparations have happened and there would be good reason for black people to get some payback for what has happened in their lineage and for how this has set generations back. There's validity in that. And so, okay, everybody gets a check, just like COVID. Now, I think it's going to solve? We don't have a financial the economic position that Black people are in general in the country is not it's not a money problem.
Mm,
We have a deeper issue than that. It's manifesting
interesting.
in our economics in the economic status. But we definitely have an identity problem. We've got mindset issues, and this affects our values, priorities, and choices in general. And so, even if every single person don't even do the check on whether you know family should just give it to you if you got the right skin color. Okay, if we gave it to everyone, all we would see, I think, is what we've been seeing, which is we're going to see some weight. We're going to see waste.
Mm,
We're going to see some people use it truly. Some people would truly use it. I think a small percentage would use it in a way that could help them to, you know, maybe start that business that they need or do whatever they need to do. But I think a lot of the choices that someone makes with money is going to follow the line of reasoning, follow the logic that they've been using with money or with resources in general. Money is just one
sure.
of them, like with your intelligence, with your skill set, with your talent. What have you been doing with your resources? If you get the money, you're just going to do more of that. So
Mm.
I think, yeah, let's just go ahead and give everybody the check so we can stop the argument, and then we can see, like
Yeah.
we can just see it play out.
That is that is a that is a hilarious, and I mean that affectionately, response to it. Said just hand it out just so we can move beyond it, right? Like we can kind of get over it. And one thing about our folks, we know we're going to put it back into the economy. So, it's really kind of more like a government loan because the government will give it, and trust me, you'll certainly kind of get it back. The one thing I would say is what does that look like? Say if it's not dollars, it's not a check, but
Mhm.
just as an idea, black folks go to school for free, right?
Mhm.
There's no
Mhm.
tuition, the tuition doesn't cost you anything, right? If there were programs and things that were in place where it's kind of somewhat equal value, if you will, I don't know what that is, but that there are other things. The absence of paying a certain tax or a sales tax. And
Mhm.
I'm kind of pulling that from Native Americans, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I
Yeah.
wonder if that were an option, how well that would go over, just as a thought, though.
Yeah, no, I think that is interesting. I think, you know, my honest thoughts about it is a lot of people wouldn't take advantage of it
Yeah,
because you want the money.
really.
I think a
Really
lot of people
push
want to
it
take advantage
back.
of it because you want the money, and I think that's a lot
Yeah,
of it is about the money. But
that's a
you know, am I a realist or am I cynical right in this moment? I don't know, but that's really what I think. I think that a lot of people wouldn't take advantage of it because you want the money.
good. Taylor, my last question is, what are and I really do appreciate you carving out a few minutes for us, me and our audience. What's the takeaway from you, your platform, your mission? What is that?
Yeah.
What are those nuggets that we should all leave this conversation with and look forward to from you?
My big thing, I'm for marriage, I'm for family, health, and wellness.
Mm,
I want I want people to know that it is okay to be divergent from the general Black culture. Like in these questions, like for example about reparations that you just asked me, it comes from a place of knowing the culture enough to know what I could predict.
Right.
what I could predictably expect. That's not good. That's not good.
Right.
Well, I am not saying that's all Black people. I am saying I do believe it's a minority of Black people who would not just be in that for the money.
Sure.
That's what I really think. And so when I want people to take away from the content that I put out, it's really countercultural. And there is a minority of us, there is a subset of us that does want the best outcomes, and we know that it does not look like what Black culture might say that it is, or what they want, which this is big, like overarching what they
Sure.
want us to think it is. I'm putting stakes in the ground that marriage, family, health, and wellness are good things for us, and that what we're going to see in majority culture is not pointing us in that direction. So it's for people who are okay with and want to separate from the mass and say, like, you know what, even if I have to be the small voice in the room, like, I'm still standing on this because I
Right.
believe that this is the right thing for me, for my relationship, for my marriage, for my family. So that's what it's for the minority of people who want to do what I would call the right thing.
Love it. Well, we appreciate you, all that you're doing, and certainly being out there fighting the good fight. Because sometimes it feels like the wind is blowing against you. I can certainly
Mhm.
see that from some of the comments. You are always welcome on our program. Any idea, anything you'd love to share, we'd love to have you back. Thank you. I appreciate that. Gotcha.
Thank you so much. This has been great. I appreciate the thoughtful questions, the pacing of everything. It was really good. So I would love to come back.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the J and K Show.